Hello, this is the MyFatoorah technical support team, and in this video, we will guide you through the integration process of direct payment. You need to be PCI DSS certified to enable direct payment for your account. You will have to share the required documents with the account manager to enable direct payment for your account. First, let us clarify what is direct payment. In direct payment, you will be the one gathering the card information from your customers and sending the card information to MyFatoorah to complete the payment process. In this video, we will use Swagger to demonstrate the requests you send from your backend to MyFatoorah endpoints. We will use two endpoints for the direct payment process. One of them is execute payment, and the other is direct payment. In the execute payment endpoint, we will only use the mandatory fields. Invoice value, which is the amount that will be deducted. Payment method ID refers to the payment method used. I have direct payment enabled for my account on payment method ID 20. Now let's call the endpoint. In the response, we will receive the payment URL. In direct payment, we do not redirect the customers to the payment URL. Instead, we use the payment URL to retrieve the invoice key and the payment gateway ID. This part of the URL is the invoice key, and we pass it as a parameter to the direct payment endpoint. And this part is the payment gateway ID. Now, let's move to the direct payment endpoint. Let's explain the parameters first. We have payment type. This states whether the payment made is done using a card or a token. The values it accepts are card or token. Save token. This saves a card and returns in the response of the endpoint the token for the saved card. You can use this token later to make payments using it. This feature needs to be enabled for your account. The card object. Here you will pass the card information details, like card number, expiry month, expiry year, CVV, and card holder name. Token. If the payment type is set to be token, here you pass the token that you want to use to make payments. In case you will use a token, you will still need the customer to enter his CVV. Bypass 3DS. This enables you to complete the payment without redirection to the OTP page. This accepts true and false as values. This feature needs to be enabled for your account. Bypassing 3DS does not return a payment URL in the response of the endpoint. Now, I have enabled bypassing 3DS and tokenization for my account. In our first example, we will use a card, not bypass the 3DS, and save the token for this card. Now, let me copy it and paste it here. As you can see, I have the payment type to be card, and I will save the token. This is the card number, and this is the expiry month, expiry year, security code, card holder name, the token, which is not necessary now because we're passing the payment type to be card, and bypass 3DS to be false. Let me just change the card number here to, let me copy it from our test cards. And now let's call the endpoint. You will notice now in the response of the endpoint that we have the token for the card, which is here, and the payment URL. We will redirect the customer to the payment URL to enter his OTP challenge. We will pass this as submit, and then the payment is made. Now for the next example, let's make the payment type be a token, and use the token and enter the CVV, and also let's bypass the 3DS. This is not needed anymore, and all of these are not needed anymore. This is not needed. We will pass the payment type to be token, and we will add the token parameter. Then we will pass the token that we got in the response to use. Now, let's call execute payment to get the new invoice key. Pass the invoice key as a parameter to the direct payment, and now let's call direct payment. You will notice now that I did not receive a payment URL in the response of the endpoint. This is because I bypassed the 3DS. And now, since the status is success, so this means that the payment is done successfully. Let's make sure. Let's get the invoiced ID and call getPaymentStatus endpoint to check for the status of the payment. You can see that the invoice status is paid. To cancel a token, we can use the cancel token endpoint for that, and we can no longer use the token to make payments again. Let's see how this works. We have the cancel token endpoint. We will pass in it the token, and we will then call the endpoint. We will receive in the response a message says cancel successfully. Okay, let's double check to make sure that we cannot use this token anymore. So we will call execute payment again. We will take the invoice key, and this is the exact same token that we canceled. If I try it out, I receive that this token is invalid or cancelled. Thank you for watching this video guide on direct payment integration with MyFatoorah. We hope this helps streamline your payment process and enhance your customer experience.